Mic check. How y'all doing? All right, we are not going to need music today, as good as it is. We're here for episode 2 of the Oz Tank. I am beyond excited because I think the first episode went as good as we could have hoped. It was really cool to see all the good ideas come through, the fantastic presentations. Since then, we've had some incredibly good feedback. There's been project updates. It's just really great to see an idea come together and be successful. And I received a lot of feedback from the community, from you guys, from the Discord. It was overall just an honor to do it and so much fun. And I'm hoping that we can keep this going. So today is episode 2, and for those of you that maybe didn't watch last time and have no idea what the Oz Tank is, so what we're going to do here, this is semi-inspired by the Shark Tank or Dragon's Den that you might know from TV in outside of Eve. What we're doing here is we're getting together with a few Eve trillionaires, and we were wondering what can we do with our money, because a lot of us just like to see those numbers go up because we're station traders or we're running other operations in EVE Online that often don't have a huge ISK sink, so to speak, back into the community. And that's what this show is about. We want to take that idea, take those funds and inject them back into your ideas. And last month, actually, it was 3 weeks ago that we had episode 1. We had ideas that ranged from a bounty hunting initiative, a music contest. We had a perpetual zero tax market. We had recycling for fun and profit. We had a C5 newbie wormhole corp. So all of that that happened last week, and I since then received a lot of updates from those projects that we funded, and one of them I actually want to show you because Tony, quote unquote Tony, who wanted to be known as Tony because he's going undercover, so nobody actually can catch him while he's doing the idea that we're funding. He pitched the idea recycling for fun and profit last time, and he sent us a video. So today, the first thing that we're going to do before we jump into the new ideas for today is we're going to have a look at this 3-minute update video of what he and his idea are up to. Just a quick reminder, what he pitched was he wanted to get together with his friends and field, I think, 10 or 12 Leshaks and find dead posticks and wormholes and shoot them, loot them, sell it, and see if they can make a profit. And we funded him with, I think, 10 billion overall, or I think 7.5 billion. No, by now we funded him with 10 billion in total, and he used that to get his Leshaks out there and get them operating in space. And so we're going to look at his video. After that, we have 5 new ideas for you. And, this time we didn't have 30 submissions as we had for the episode 1, but we had more than 10. So, if you're pitching now, the chance to get on the show is getting better. So today we're going to have 5 new ideas. Those people are going to take 5 to 10 minutes to pitch their idea. And then we're going to ask them a bunch of questions in the investor panel. Today, Golden CEO is not joining us today, but on the investor panel, we're going to have Crota and Eden Trade again, who can introduce themselves when I bring them in here in a second. And then we're going to ask them a bunch of questions. And then after about 20 to 25 minutes, we are going to decide whether to fund that idea or not. Simple as that. If you know the Shark Tank, that's what it is. I think one big thing that we have to say for those ideas is that an ROI, so a return on investment, is not required. I think that is a big a big difference and a point of confusion sometimes when you compare it to the real life Shark Tank is that when you pitch ideas here, it can just be a really fun idea and it can just be really good for the community. It doesn't have to have an ROI. If it has an ROI, certainly it will have a much higher chance of getting funded, because if it's a good idea and it has an ROI, then why the hell shouldn't we, right? But if it doesn't, then that's okay, as long as it creates content for the EVE community, as long as it has a quality of life improvement, a service, or it's just funny or entertaining. We will consider your idea. And so I'm going to get Kuroda and Eden Trade in here, and just maybe you guys, so you guys can watch the update video with me. So welcome Kuroda and Eden Trade. You guys are on air. If you want to say hello.
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 Perfect. I think Eden Trade is still a little bit low. I keep making Eden Trade louder. So at some point when he blows up and he gets angry and starts yelling at the mic, don't blame me when he blows your speakers. So we're going to start, as I said, by looking at the video that Tony sent us about his recycling for fun and profit. So let me just share that video with you guys. Let's see if we can get this to show up. I think there you can see the video. And so this is Tony. If you guys saw episode 1, then you will recognize him. He had a fantastic presentation convincing us that it's not only fun but profitable to recycle dead posticks in wormhole space. And now he got back to us with an update presentation. And let's have a look where he's at.
Hi there. We'd like to send a quick update on the launching of operations for the recycling company and show how that's gone. So this is a sample of the pause setup that we used in our initial pitch to base our financial projections on for the sustaining of operations. So this is what we expected. Here's what we found. These are the stations that we've recycled in the last 12 days since we started operations. We were pleased to see that the average value of these sites was exceeding projections by about 26%. So with that being said, there were also some really surprising results. The first time we saw it, we thought it was odd. The second time we saw it, it started to stick out more. Free stuff lying around New Eden. Basically, pause towers were already gone, but modules were still anchored and just ready to be picked up. So we did, and that added to the results that we received. Here's the quantitative summary behind the experiences that we've had in the last couple of days. Module harvesting has proceeded faster than we first estimated. We were pleasantly surprised to see the instances of free stuff. At this point, if you mark to the sell orders, we've got about 1 billion in harvested inventory. If you value it by the buy orders, it's about 500 million. So compared to what we proposed in our funding pitch, you can see that based on what we have in hand so far for the initial operations, we've already achieved the projected cumulative goal for the end of September. So we feel that this demonstrates that the resources out there are sufficient to support a scaled up harvesting rate. So for our current statement, we have 7.5 billion in funding received, of which we have expended 5 billion on chips and supplies. We have about 1/4 of our initial cash on hand. If you mark this to sell value, this demonstrates an unrealized gain for investors of 14% for the period. While that's nice, we do not necessarily believe that is going to be a consistent trend going forward. Notionally, we expect to remit realized gains on a quarterly basis to the investors. A word on supply chain. Identification of sites for sustainable operations has exceeded the projections underlying our initial investment pitch. We're happy to report that we have sufficient viable recycling sites identified to sustain operations for the next 3 months, even if we didn't do any further site identification. This also allows us to be a bit more selective about which sites we'll actually process, so we're able to have a higher average value per site that we go out and recycle. So with that being said, we're concluding at this stage that the supply of eligible targets could support expanded operations. It was a pleasant surprise that there's free stuff hanging around that can just be scooped, much more efficient that way. One of the challenges that we're facing is that the transportation of the modules is a challenge. Some of them are quite large. We've been exploring different situations, different solutions to make that more efficient, and we'll report on those solutions in further updates. So the biggest concern that we have at this stage is exploring the market absorptive capacity. That remains unclear, and we'll do a deep dive into the data underlying that as we go forward with selling the modules and returning the ISK to investors. So we consider ourselves to have had a successful launch, and we look forward to additional updates.
All right, so I know that was kind of quiet. That was all I could do. I in the background I added the gain and volume as I could. I am going to update or fix that for the YouTube and for the podcast. But this is kind of like what I would expect in the ideal case out of a candidate, right? He came prepared last time. He had an awesome presentation. He took the money, did what he said he would, and came back with the presentation. So really, really, really love it. What he did, and on top of that, he's also been already asking whether we want our payout. So there is actually an ROI on this. I've told him to keep it for now and reinvest it because what he's doing is obviously working. But overall, really happy that we can fund this. Croda, Eden, any comment to that update?
None from me. Just superb, really.
Yeah, very professional.
I mean, he makes it seem like it's a real world operation in how he presents. If he was sitting in like a business meeting at like a actual company, everybody would just be like, "Oh, that's what we're investing in." Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think I'd be right there with him in investing in him. I know he's he's somewhere in Asia. That's all I know about him. So I'm imagining him doing this in real life business anyway. All right, so let's turn then to new ideas that we had. And so the first candidate that we have for today, his handle on our Discord is Hallelujah. All right, and we're gonna get him in here. Hopefully that works. Hallelujah, can you hear us?
Loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Perfect. And let me also then share your presentation, because you've brought a presentation that is titled Pochven Buyback. Is that right?
Yep, that's exactly it.
Pochven Buyback. Then let me go here and we share this. And look at that. Technology is working today, even on episode 2. So, hallelujah. Take it away. Tell us what you would like an investment for.
So basically, I think the title is pretty descriptive. I wrote something below: turning lost assets from the land of triangles into ISK. No undocking needed. It's basically, well, I'll explain it later. Let's start with Pochven. I think that the three of you know pretty well what Pochven is, even though you're traders, because you probably were there when derivations were happening. But for the viewers that maybe don't know, I've prepared a little Pochven crash course. So basically, Pochven, I said it's the land of the triangles. It really is. It's like it's occupied by the track Levins. It basically consists of 27 systems, of which you can access 24 freely. They are split up in 3 clades. You will see the number 3 appearing a lot more in this presentation and in Pochven in general. Basically, it's the equivalent of hell in EVE. There's NPCs fighting everywhere. You can only enter it through, well, unsafe means. Let's just put it like that. And it's just a giant battlefield. It looks like a giant battlefield. You will see pictures of Pochven in the backgrounds of my presentation. It's red. It's just space hell. But while it's space hell, the people that live there are actually very nice, and it's also probably the place in EVE where you can make the most money, the easiest. Not looking at markets, maybe. So, I'm talking to 3 traders.
Yeah.
So basically in Pochven, there's 3 things you can do that are like really, really profitable. There are some more, but these are the 3 main things. So if you're like, you're a standard player, you maybe have 2 or 3 accounts, you can do really good mining. Pochven has the best ore in the game. It's called Spetsnazine, by the way. And basically you go there, you mine ore anomaly that respawns infinitely instantly, and you do it in relative safety. There's a way to make it really, really safe. And you just get huge amounts of ISK if you can organize it. It has a pretty big barrier of entry in terms of ISK because you need a lot of accounts to do it. But it's a single player operation. It can be very profitable. I know guys that have made like 8 billion in a matter of 2 or 3 hours just mining them with 10 accounts. The next thing you can do in Pochven is OBS, Observatory Flashpoints. You might recognize the name. It's also called the nullsec money printer because it's basically a completely broken PvE site where you can go with 15 people at most, and you run one side in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes, and everyone gets 200 million. So basically you generate 3.5 billion in a fleet of 15 in a matter of the quarter of an hour. Just to put that into perspective, there's people out there that run these sites with 15 Vargas, all alt accounts. They make like, I don't know, even want to know how much they make. And then there's another activity that's actually really good for new players. You can do it as an alpha. It's basically just going around Pochven, salvaging the remains of NPC battles. And you can also make a lot of ISK from that because you put in a Tech 1 frigate that's like 5 million, and you go out there, you salvage 5 or 10 wrecks. I just did this for like 2 months of my early game life, and you make above 100 million easily an hour. Just to put like Pochven into perspective as a source of money and like a center of wealth, you know.
Thank you. Very helpful. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now
Oh, really?
to
Great.
get to my
Yeah.
okay. Now to get to my idea, my project that I want to present to you guys. Basically, it's the most common business project you can find in ETH. It's a buyback program. You have one guy that buys it low from you in a place you don't want to ship it from, and sells it for a higher price in Cheetah and makes the margin from that. And I think there's actually like a pretty big hole in that market because for every space in the game except wormhole space, but also for wormhole space there are buyback programs. Every nullsec alliance has a buyback program. There's a high sec buyback. There's multiple low sec buyback programs, and even in wormhole space, as I said, most wormhole alliances have buyback programs. I think some of you guys here are also from nullsec, so you know how it works. It's pretty simple. It has a decent margin. There's not much that can go wrong with it, but it's also not the most profitable. But I think Pochven has a hole like that because there's only a single buyback program I know of in Pochven, and it's made by a alliance they're very open, but it's not as Pochven as a whole region. It's a single system they buy stuff in, and they only buy from members. So I think making a buyback program for all of Pochven would be very, very profitable. And it's not only profitable, but it also provides economic value to the community. Because as you guys probably remember, when Pochven was created, the systems that became Pochven were former high sec, low sec, and null sec systems. And these systems had a lot of assets, like a lot. Some of you might have seen some of the structure bashes that were done in Pochven. In Pochven, it's like in wormhole space, when a structure dies, all the assets that were in that structure spawn around the structure back. And the balls that formed were so huge that you got FPS drops just looking in the direction. So knowing that there's a lot of assets just sitting around in Pochven, and knowing that Pochven's like the most dangerous space in ETH, I think it's pretty clear that if you're someone who just lives in HiSec and you have assets lying around in Pochven, you might not want to go then like your little freighter and pick it up yourself, but would much rather just sell it at a relatively competitive price. I will say what I'm aiming for on the next slide. Just sell it to me and let me move it out. That's basically why my project would be attractive, I think. So next, I want to present to you guys what I think you would have to invest to get this running. I've run some buyback programs before, only in nullsec, but I've run multiple, both corporation side and just personal buyback programs. And I know that for buyback programs, the main issue at the start is not really getting the materials transported that you buy, or stuff like gathered in your trade hub and sold. It's mostly that you have to have the liquidity to get 5 contracts for $1 billion and just accept them all relatively quickly, because that's what makes people go to your buyback. They're not looking for a really good rate. They're mostly looking for, I'm going to make a contract and I want to see this tomorrow. So that's why I'm aiming for 5 to 10 billion just as a start in liquidity. Just have it like in a corporation wallet and accept contracts. Although I don't know how big the demand for the buyback program will be, how many contracts there will be in the first 5 days. Let's just put it like that. I think that's reasonable, and that will get me going pretty well, and that there might be some left over. Additional to that, I would like about 2 to 3 billion to get a few haulers in place. I myself own 2 accounts that can fly DSTs, which would be the main way of transport in Pochven. And I would spread them around the 24 systems that have stations in Pochven or are easily accessible or house assets. That would be stage 1 in my investment. I would just set up the buyback as a whole, advertise it, see how much demand there is, like tipping my toes into the water a bit. When I got it all set up, maybe a month or 2 in the future, I want to take a look at what I've got. Obviously, I'm going to make a progress video for you guys if this idea gets traction. But in like 2 or 3 months, I want to look at the project as a whole and say, okay, this worked out, this didn't work out, this I can improve, this worked out pretty well, I can let it be like that, and then start expanding. I mainly want to make partnerships with other buyback programs, namely the high-sec and low-sec buyback program. And I also want to make a own price calculator, because buyback programs generate their revenue from the cost of convenience. You don't sell to the buyback program because you could just ship it to Cheetah yourself, and you don't really care. You do it because you don't want to, and if you don't want to, you want to just press Control A, Control C, put it in your ETH appraisal, and get a price that you can contract it to the buyback program to. I think an online price calculator, like you probably know it from many buyback programs, would be a great addition to this buyback program if it works out. Also, if I get a lot of demand, a lot of contracts, I would recruit haulers, because I know there's a lot of heavy assets in Pochven. I know someone who has, I think it's 2 million M3 of capital parts in Pochven and struggling to get them out. So that would also be a point. And for the third stage, I kind of went overboard. This is if the buyback program really, really gets big and really, really generates a lot of value. I want to kind of take advantage of the other things you can do in Pochven, like mining, like running OBS, and maybe even salvaging. I think there would also be a lot of need for like a corporation that just shows new players what Pochven is as an alternative to normal gameplay. Because really, from my 5 months of living in Pochven, I know that Pochven lives off the people that live within it, because it has one of the nicest communities in the game. So what do you guys think?
Perfect. All right. First of all, thanks for taking the time to put this together. This is it's a well-made presentation. I think it presents the idea really well. So appreciate that. Thank you first and foremost. For everyone in chat, there is a not only a raffle going on, but also there is a poll going on where you can say whether the investors should invest in this idea. I'm looking at the results right now. Right now, it's about I guess 60-40 in favor, which is kind of surprising. I thought this idea would get more acceptance from chat. Maybe while we discuss this, can you guys post in chat why you're skeptical about this and why you wouldn't invest it? Because to me it seems like a fairly straightforward deal. Let me start the question round out, and then I hand it over to Eden and Croda. Security, right? How I'm guessing there's some parties with ill intent in Pochven, as there are in other more dangerous parts of space. Are you concerned about that at all? Are you do you feel like you could be losing DSTs? How is the security situation?
Yes, speaking of security, as I said, Pochven is probably the most dangerous space in EVE. But as I said, I've been living in Pochven not for the past 5 months, but I've been there. I'm in contact with multiple groups. I'm actually a personal glue to some of them, to some of the bigger PvP groups. And in Pochven, it's really dangerous if you go gate to gate. But Pochven has a few very unique mechanics that can basically get you out of every situation, out of every system, into a system that's relatively close to a trade hub. For example, if you look at a map of Pochven, there's a service called EVE Metro. They basically scan down Pochven for wormholes. And if you look at the 3 blades, as they're called, I can skip back to the map. If you look at that map, you will see that every system in this map does have at least one adjacent system or one system 2 jumps over that usually spawns wormholes adjacent to larger trade hubs. So I think that I can get out of Pochven to a trade hub in relative safety. Worst case by using a filament, because those also have mechanics that can land very close to trade hubs, or by going through such a wormhole. And doing that is also pretty secure. There's always a chance to get caught, especially because there are bubbles in Pochven. But with like a DST that has a lot of additions, you get more warp cost rank, you can get a nullifier, everything like that. You can make it pretty secure if you put the dedication in it. If you have like 1 or 2 scouts to your DST, which I have.
And you would
fill it
filament
correctly.
out, right? You filament out from there.
That depends on the system, basically. So there are some filaments that are viable for that. But if I can get a wormhole that leads to high-sec, which most wormholes in Pochven do, I would much rather take the wormhole.
Okay. And this would be for every system in Pochven, right? As a question from chat.
Yep, it would be for every system that has a station that is either a free port and has been for a while, or that has a station, which is almost every system.
I see some of the questions or criticism in chat are around, well, it's not a buyback, it's a logistics service, but I mean that's the way you pitch it is exactly how other buybacks work in high sec or low sec as well, right? It's a convenient product, so it's not something that I sell if I want to make a profit. It's something that I use when I don't want to travel somewhere to pick something up, or when I have stuff laying around that I don't want to, that is not large enough to care about, that sort of stuff. So you would basically gather everything up from either people that are lazy or people that have too much stuff laying around.
Yep.
Okay,
Eden.
I
read it in chat. Can I stop so?
Please.
Because I read it in chat, someone said, what about potential buyers for Pochven materials? Could be even better than just selling Clean Cheetah. The thing about Pochven, as I talked about, I think my buyback would also give a good opportunity to maybe new players trying out the salvaging thing, because Pochven is really the only source of these materials that are needed for Triglav and Tech 2 production. And I know of a couple of people that do Triglav and Tech 2 production, so that would also be a very good thing, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Eden, do you have any questions?
A few. Like what's your logistics now? Like if if it's invested in, are you going to handle all the logistics and all that type of stuff?
So I currently have 2 accounts that can fly DSTs, which I don't see as a problem. I would do all the logistics, yes, at least for the first 3 months. If this project blows up and I get like 20 contracts with millions of M3 of stuff, I would obviously have to hire some haulers, because at some point it's just not doable for one guy, except I expand a lot, but I don't plan on using the investment money on more alts or skill injectors.
And then the other
Yeah.
thing is, like you talked about, like working with like high sec buyback, which I think that you'll just be losing money on them. Are you just going to directly sell your stuff in Jita, or
That depends. If I have like no liquidity at all, if I spend all my money on contracts coming in, I would definitely sell my stuff to cheater buy orders. But if I have like a little buffer, I would pick out stuff that has like a big margin on it and sell it to sell orders. Definitely. Trading characters already in the making. The
and you're
thing with
able to go
yeah.
ahead?
So the thing with partnering with HiSec Buyback, as I said, I don't know if the maker of HiSec Buyback is watching. I don't think so. But the point of partnering with them would be more as like a platform to advertise and maybe even get a calculator on their website as having like someone to sell my stuff to. Because while they do provide a good rate, it wouldn't be enough to make this really profitable if I want to provide a good rate in Pochven as well.
Last question. You'll be able to come up with like the price per item that you're paying, like on things that are actually worth it, like over a couple million per item.
So basically, I would take the approach that most most buyback programs take. There are fewer materials in ETH that are like very common in nullsec, like I think it's ice. That gives a lot of like stuff that you can buy very cheap in nullsec and then sell for more in highsec. I wouldn't accept those items or wouldn't calculate them in the price of the contract or with a lower value. There's also some other items that would be banned from the program, and some things that would have like lower rates. For example, ships. Ships are very difficult to haul around and generally don't really provide that big of a margin. So there would be lower rates for some items and item types like damaged crystals, which I can't buy because you can't sell them, or blueprints. But most of the items and most of the stuff that's common in Pochven and the old assets that lie there would be a margin around 90%, or a rate of 90% cheated by value.
Well, I have one more important question, and that is, for a buyback, you have to be quick. So you have to be able to either have a program or be able to respond to a request very quickly, because people want to get rid of stuff quickly, right? So it's probably you have to set it up automatically in some way. I think you mentioned that as well. And 2, you have to stick with this, right? This is if you go on vacation, somebody needs to be there, right? Do you have a team? Have you thought about that stuff?
I do not have a team, but I have a few people that I think I can trust very well. I've been knowing them for very long, and I think that I can hand it over to them. Also, I own a laptop. So even if I go on vacation, an automatic system to accept contracts is not planned yet, because I don't believe in myself enough that I can say, okay, I'm going to make a program that can check all the contracts for the right ETH appraisal, or no, it's ETH Tycoon, value, and check if everything is done right and then accept it automatically. I also wouldn't want to entrust your guys' money to a program, at least now. If I grow and if this buyback program gets a lot of demand, I think a step would be to set up a program like HiSec Buyback has one, where you contract it and in a matter of 5 minutes it's accepted.
Thanks. Crota, any questions?
I just had 3, but one's been answered. I had thought the aim, you were sort of saying just get it out of Pochven into HiSec and then use HiSec Buyback, but you said no, you're going to get it to Jita. So I guess the 2 questions standing then are: do you have stuff all ready to be put into contract? You know, if you got the 10, 12, 13 billion straight away, is there like 5 billion of stuff that could be shipped immediately? And then my second question is, what sort of percentage of the goods do you think will be lost to gate camps? 10%, 5%, or are you super confident and we can get this out without being ganked at all?
So there's a mechanic in Pochven where you have it's the 24 systems. And if you look at this map, you see that at the border of every cry, you have border systems. And these systems have more than 14 AU between their gates. So gate cam, the other ones don't. So basically gate cams in Pochven are very avoidable by just not going into these systems or jumping through them. And the plan would be to have a DST here, 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 and here, and just go around the clades, if that's possible. Or even if it's more successful, have a DST in every system and just ship out stuff when it's coming in. I think that with reasonable confidence, I can say that I will not lose stuff to gate camps. If this buyback program gets traction and someone goes for me by making contracts to me and looking when I'm online and basically investing time in it, I think that I can get caught pretty easily. But I don't think that I can really lose stuff to gate camps. As I said, I've been living in Pochven for a while, and I think if you know the mechanics, it's actually pretty secure to move around. And for the first thing, I don't have stuff in Pochven yet, where I know that I can get to a guy and say, hey, I know you have that lying around. You can contract it to me. I'll give you 90% cheated buy value, and they will accept the trade. But if you look at the contracts that are public in Pochven, you will see a lot of stuff just laying around. You will see old doctrine ships from the days when the null blocks had structures in Pochven. You will see a lot of just minerals, capital parts, all kinds of stuff just laying around. And I think that there's definitely at least some demand.
All right,
Okay,
we're getting up on time here, but Crota, any other important questions? Sorry.
No, none from me. Thank you.
Okay, then Hel, can you pull up the page where you have your request, like what you would like? That's right. Okay, so just to sum up, you would want to set up some DSTs and some scanners for about 2 to 3 billion, and then for liquidity, basically 5 to 10 billion, which is so essentially once this is running, that is ISK that you can pay back at some point, right?
Yes, there is. As I said, depending on how it's going, I'm planning a stock take in stage 2 or whenever I make the video. There's definitely a return on investment planned. I don't think I will be able to pay back the whole investment in a matter of a month. I don't think I will make that much profit. But I think at some point I will be able to return the money here.
Cool. All right. So to sum up, the chat result was in the end 69% in your favor. So chat says to 69% we should fund you. Today I'll go last. Crota, how about you? We're talking about a total sum here of about, let's say, 8 to 13 billion, right? With essentially a chance to get it all back and some.
I'm in for 10. I'll do it all if no one else comes in, but I'm in for 10.
Crota is in for 10. You got him, Hel. Congrats. Eden, what do you think?
I'm gonna do something a little different here. I have like 9 free 305 trade characters that you can use, and I can sell stuff for you. I want to keep 25% of the profits. You have 75% of the profits to keep reinvesting in your operation, and I'll just give you 15 billion and cut out all the other investors. And I have the logistic mindset to do it.
Oh wow. Yeah, if there's no better offer, I'll definitely take you up on that.
So I might just get out of the way for you guys then. How about this? Hel, you don't have to answer now. We can have this discussion after the show. You can if you want to, but of course we'll give everyone else an update on the Discord and in the next episode as well. Hell, what are you thinking?
I mean, Eden's offer sounds very, very nice. So I think it's already decided, to be honest. If I have a trading character, maybe I can even get a third DST account if I switch to trading.
All right,
yeah,
then. So this is unprecedented. So this is the first time on the Oztank that an investor got poached in here. So Crota, I hope you're fine with that solution as well, and we'll see how Eden does.
Yeah, I'm good. Furious, but I'm good.
All right. Hell, congratulations. We can't wait to see what you do with Pochven Buyback. So hopefully you'll send us a nice video update like Tony did today. And good luck with your endeavor.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Perfect. All right. Off to a good start today. Good PowerPoint presentation. I'm always a big fan of the PowerPoint presentation, and that one was good. So we're going to move on to the next person, and that is, I hope I pronounced this right, but it's Zirok Ul. Is that right, Zirok?
Hello. Yes, that's right.
All right. And you're from Eve University, is that right?
Yes. Just a disclaimer, really. I'm perhaps better known as the co-host of the Declarations of War podcast with Alexei Card and Levitain from Noir.
All right. That's where I know you from. That's right.
I do a lot of my gameplay, most of it with Eve University, yes, and I've been with them for a few years now, doing things with the FC team.
Very good. Cool. And you've also brought a presentation, and your idea today is all around Eve University FC training. So without much ado, please take it away.
Oh, thank you very much. So yeah, as I say, I spend most of my time helping people in Eve University, and the focus there for me is on teaching people PvP skills and also how to do their first steps in fleet command, essentially. The first thing I'd like to tell you about really is just what we do. We help people to learn how to FC PvP fleets. So we usually are helping people take their first steps. They might be people that have played Eve for a while. They might be in the first week of the game. It really is that varied. Recently, we've relaunched the FC team that Eve University has. It's been around for a long time in various iterations, but we've really had a focus recently on making it a bit more modern, a bit more up to date, with the help of one of the former CEOs of Eve University, Laura Kopinski. So one of the things we've done is we found basically that lots of people who are interested in PvP and the more sort of advanced bits of PvP around specialist roles and things all ended up in one big sort of group that was called the FC team. And it wasn't necessarily full of people that were all about learning to FC. Some of them were sort of interested in the ancillary roles around it. So what we've done is we've also produced now a separate group, the PvP study groups for specialist roles that is separate from the FC team, but in reality is also quite enmeshed because, you know, sort of similar people have different crossovers. And in that regard, the sort of PvP study groups that we're running at the moment, if I can just quickly have a look at my list, it would be things like bombers, E-War, Logi, scouting and tackle, blops as a specialism, Bushers and interdictors. And those are the sorts of things that, you know, a good FC team and a good PvP fleet needs. And like I say, we're trying to focus now on divvying things up a bit. There's lots of content available for our members. FCs can basically develop from their very first steps right up to, you know, being a senior FC in a larger-ish, medium-ish, maybe some would consider a small corporation and alliance, and be, you know, effectively what a strat-op FC would be in a larger group, just on a little scale, really, a much smaller scale. So currently, the current thing that we can offer, bread and butter, day in, day out, as a corporation, as a teaching corporation, We can support people to do T1 and T2 frigate doctrines with SRP. We can do the same for T1 destroyer doctrines, and we can do the same for T1 cruiser doctrines. We do have some slightly more advanced mix and match nanogang type fleet setups where we put the more experienced people in the T2 larger stuff and then the newer players in the T1 and do it that way. But the real thing I wanted to talk to you about today really is this almost battlecruiser doctrine setup that we run regularly with the T2 and T3 support you might expect from a proper nullsec or wormhole fleet, really. The content we offer is in high-sec, low-sec, wormhole, and NPC null in the main for our members to join on a daily basis, but we also do small gang roams. There's a sort of sub-community of us that love the small gang stuff, and we do that in all sorts of space. We use Thera perhaps, or we use filaments and things like that. So it's this T1 battlecruiser doctrine stuff really that I wanted to focus on, because that's the kind of stuff that's a lot more expensive than the other three types, and something that we struggle to support our members to do unless we're confident that it's going to go well. So some additional detail for you before I go into some facts and figures, really. There's lots of opportunities for more adventurous doctrine setups for our members. We can't allow at the moment, but resource-wise, brand new FCs or relatively new FCs to take the more expensive stuff out because we need our resources for the right reasons for sort of defending our stuff. So we can't really allow them a lot of leeway around those setups. But we've got the FCs that are willing to do it and developing towards doing it, and we've got lots of the knowledge and doctrines and everything in the background waiting to go, but we're looking for a bridge to better content really for our members. So as I say, some of this content that I'm talking about requires at least a battlecruiser sized doctrine, and going from a T1 cruiser doctrine to a T1 battlecruiser doctrine with support, exponentially more expensive. The types of content I'm talking about using these battlecruiser doctrines in is things like structured defenses in our NPC null. There's 6 systems in the syndicate NPC nullsec region that Eve University has occupied for a long time. I don't know, to be honest with you, how long, but we're talking over a decade, I believe. And what happens is that people come for content. They come to PvP with us. These are various groups that do this over the years. We're at a bit of a stalemate though with this, because we've got this desire to give our members and our opposition the content they're looking for. Some of the people that come to PvP with us, they want us to bring out more interesting stuff to fight them with and have some really interesting engagements. But our resources are limiting the learning potential that we can allow our members to have. And that is really what I wanted to talk to you about today, because we can teach people at the moment ad infinitum how to run the cheaper doctrines. But if we're going to take that next step and allow people to do more adventurous stuff, like I say, then we kind of need some help. So I can't offer you much in way of return on your investment in terms of ISK. I mean, maybe the loot that we collect off the fields will go some way towards recouping some costs, but I don't think we're going to be making a profit there, to be honest with you. But what I could suggest is, and I can't speak for our members, all of them, but I can say that I'm pretty confident that we could come up with some podcast style interviews with people who've used the resources that you've perhaps supported, and maybe come up with also some recordings of fleets, and maybe do some brief videos that explain what we did, just something so that is a visual and also perhaps more detailed explanation of what we're doing with the ISK and what learning potential and we're executing on, really. And then I want to mention as well the secondary benefits really to the whole of the rest of the corporation. I'm coming to you today as a member of the FC team in Eve University. It's a vast University of Eve. It covers all sorts of things, and I wouldn't want to sort of say that I'm representing the whole university here and coming to you and saying this is what the university needs as a whole. I'm actually just talking about the people that are interested in PvP, and if you support us, those are the people that are going to benefit from this in the main. But we also have, a huge production department, huge hauling departments, very dedicated people who are in fit-in teams that do fits and theory craft. Those are the people that, if you support us, will have an additional benefit because we can send huge productions to the production department, sorry, orders to the production department. We can send huge requests to the hauling department, and we can get our theory crafters perhaps being a bit more adventurous as well. So there really would be, lots and lots and lots of people that would benefit from some investment in this idea. So this is from earlier on. I was helping to FC a fleet in NPC nullsec, and this is one of those battlecruiser doctrines that I'm talking about that we ran. I know you can't see a huge amount of what is what here, but when I come onto the spreadsheet that I'm going to show you, this is kind of what it looks like in space.
Were you fighting there?
No, unfortunately, our opposition didn't turn up. This was us, being good content participants and undocking and getting defending a timer in our system.
Oh, all right.
That,
yeah.
But our opposition didn't turn up. But they certainly thought about it, Oz, because we had lots of indications that they were not just the opposition, but other parties were interested. And if they did come, we might have either had a lot of good fun, hopefully, but we might have also lost a lot of stuff. So that's what I come on to next, I suppose. I'll just take this presentation off and come on to some facts and figures for you. So one of these doctrines, I priced this up yesterday in at Jita Buy. So, there's that to factor in. But the sort of doctrine I showed you now, we had about 120 people in our fleet earlier. This is based on figures of 115. That fleet costs approximately 20 billion ISK in terms of what we field. Now, that's quite a significant sum for group like Eve University, and to lose one of those 20 billion is huge for us. So we really, really can't allow people to put those assets to risk on a regular basis. And I took a 90% figure there. The 17 billion is 90% of the total cost, trying to give a rough estimate of what it might cost in ISK to get our production department to make it. And then for a fleet like this, you're also talking about the consumables. There's things like the mind links that are potentially consumable. There's cap boosters, ammo, bubbles, various things that you could potentially consume even if you kept every ship alive. And I've estimated there that it would be roughly 500 million ISK potential. If we don't shoot anything and we don't activate cap boosters and we don't pop any bubbles, obviously that figure is going to go down quite considerably, but it is something to think about, I suppose. So this is a typical sort of size battlecruiser doctrine for us. The numbers we could, if we do this more regularly, like we'd like to, could increase to 150 people in fleet, and you'd have more people in beginner type ships. So that's one of the components of things that we would love to do more of if we could support it. The second thing I wanted to show you was the PvP study groups. Just looking at the sort of the types of PvP study group content we want to create, classes, opportunities for practice, it would be really, really helpful to have, say 10 Butchers, 20 T2 bombers, etc. I'll just go down the list. There's a Blops battleship there. If we could have those as communal resources for our participants, at a cost of around about 6 billion, then we could stock our shared hangars and it would really kickstart our PvP study group programs. Because a lot of our members, they don't really have the ISK to sort of, spend 75 million ISK on a bomber for practice. And then the third thing, this is just a nod really to the fact that when we're not engaged in the NPC null type content, where we're taking out bigger sort of strat-op battlecruiser doctrines, we love to roam in nullsec, and a lot of groups love to be able to reship if they're out and about through they might do it by going from a wormhole regularly. Lots of groups like to ping and say, oh, we've caught something really interesting, ping, people join us. Well, we don't really have an easy way for our members to join us while we're already out, because we don't really have a presence really in Thera. We do use Thera a lot, but we can't really afford a corp office there. I mean, the cheapest I could find yesterday, because it depends, doesn't it, on how many people have one. And I've seen this go up to 250 million per month, I think. The cheapest I found yesterday was in GravLab, and that was at 150 million per month. So the cost of that for 12 months would be 1.8 billion. Having something like that where we could stock it with ships for new players, for intermediate players and more advanced players, and then be able to ping people and say, join us in Thera, get your jump clones going, come, and we're only 3 jumps away from Thera, please come. Or if somebody unfortunately blows up on one of our roams, getting them to reship where they can just sort of death clone back to Thera, look in the flight deck, grab another ship and come back out with us would be really nice. It's just a luxury that, like I say, we can't really afford at 1.8 billion a year. So those are the three things that I would love you to consider funding for us. We're not devoid of these things. We do have some of these things already. I'm just looking for opportunities to allow people to use the more advanced stuff without us having to worry about eating into what is basically our supply of strategic resources, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you. So this I didn't think it could get better, but this presentation was amazing, and including spreadsheets, so that trumps everything. So thank you so much for preparing this. I have a lot of questions actually. Before I say that, before I take those questions, chat, make sure you vote in the poll. There's a poll out there that says whether we should support this idea. Currently, vastly in favor of supporting it. So let me ask my questions. Zero. Typically, I guess a player in Eve has two paths they can go. They can either learn this within a corp, on the let me say that it's not the real battlefield, but it's like without support from a learning organization such as yours. Or they can go to a learning organization such as yours. In a real corp, the corp would fund this type of activity, and you need to go out and find someone else because you don't have the same money-making resources that a null alliance would have. Is that a correct assessment?
Yes, absolutely. Historically, Eve University has always been a very low tax corporation. The last thing you want to be doing, I suppose, as a group like Eve University, taking the very newest of players, is putting up a 15%, 25% tax on their RATIN or their LP generation. There's that factor. There's also the fact that those groups are probably focused more on living in the space they're in, or doing the main thing they do. Because Eve University tries to do a bit of everything. We're also supporting people that want to learn to mine and learn to explore and learn to do all the various things that you can do in Eve. Without discrimination. So we want people to be able to sort of flit in and out of the various types of content without any prejudice. Now, the other thing is that we don't live in Sovnal, so we don't have access to those more lucrative, or perhaps C5 wormholes, those more lucrative things that can mean you can whelp a 20 billion fleet and then you can just SRP it and keep going. We're a much more modestly funded organization. The NPC now systems that we occupy, those 6, they're not the most lucrative systems. So even if our members could go out ratting every day, they wouldn't be generating a huge amount of tax return. So there is that. The other thing, I suppose, is that this content comes in waves. So sometimes we need to do this a lot, like presently, and then it might go 3 months where we don't do this battlecruiser stuff so much, and we might move more in the direction of the other things, like the PvP study or the small gang stuff. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And how many people would you say in a month? Like, how many people are active within Eve University on the learning side? So how many new players or players that want to participate in this type of stuff, how many take part? So I know how big the impact of this is.
Yeah, so at the moment, that will come in waves. We're currently seeing an uptick in the amount of PvP content available. We've really put a lot of effort in recently as the FC team to generate more interest in PvP and get people involved. So if we just look at overall, Eve University is the 101 all-time corp for ship destruction. That's not too bad for a learning corp.
Nice.
If you look at our dangerous to snuggly ratio, it's a 38%, which clearly shows that we're a new bro corp, right? Now, if we look recently, you see that it's actually increasing 46%, and we're actually top 55. And then if we look at weekly, it's even better, right? So essentially, it was better until earlier. Somebody's obviously lost something quite significant. Anyway, I mean, yeah, we're talking about in Eve University's calendar, there's about 3 or 4 things each day classes, fleets, various things like that. From a PvP perspective, we're talking 3 to 4 PvP fleets organized, and then some ad hoc stuff as well. So there's daily content. Now, in terms of StratOps, this week we've done 2 StratOps for the university. So they were the full StratOps with the full support. But otherwise, we've done there's been other opportunities for that, but we've held back because it was other types of structured defense in those 6 systems I was talking about that were not directly related to strategic assets. So we held off there. But otherwise, we're talking, between, depend on time zone, 75 to 120 people per fleet in the larger fleets. And in terms of the actual FC team, if I just have a quick look at the channels. We cleared it out. It was over 200 people in the FC team at one point. That was just a little bit unwieldy. But I think currently we're at about 30 to 40 people in the FC team. I can check.
Those are people that are either FCing or learning to FC?
Yes, and they're definitely active in the sense that we did a gentle purge recently, like as in 2 weeks ago, and all of these people have re-engaged in the program in the last 2 weeks by actively signing up, actively putting the effort into filling the application. And if I just have a quick look at our groups for FCs, yeah, so we're talking at the moment, we're running on 16 juniors, 17 next level up, 5 seniors and 5 StratOps. So yeah, around 40, 50 people engaged in learning to FC. And then the PvP study groups, there's 68 people just in the bombers group, 53 EWAR, 59 Logi, and 91 in scouting and tackling, which is a testament to our scouting and tackling leader, Clarity, who really is a content generator.
Thank you for that. Croda, to you first today. Do you have questions?
Very, very simple question. I might have missed it, but how much do you think you need sort of on a monthly basis?
So at the moment, the fleet that we want to field costs roughly 20 billion. If we had an unfortunate event where we whelp the whole thing, obviously that's 20 billion lost. But we don't do that. We are much more careful with it. We're going to hopefully take more risks. It is really difficult to say because we do have interested neighbors who like to drop and kill everything they can. And that's fine, isn't it? That's what EVE's all about. But I think, to be honest with you, what we would do, we would work within the budget we had, and that's what we've always done. If we could afford to allow people to take these fleets out more often, we would. So as much as I would love to put a figure on it, monthly, I think I would. The way I've thought about it before coming today was to think, well, if we could replace that fleet twice and supply the PvP study groups, I would be thrilled, because that way, we're looking at a real good buffer. You never know which of these ships you're going to lose in a fleet. You'll probably lose all 20 Blackbirds because they tend to be the players with the newer sort of. So that's 80 mil there, and then you tend to lose your flycatchers as well. That's 500 million. There's a good billion of attrition per fleet, and if we used it once a week, that would be, say, 4 to 5 billion plus the costs there. And that would just be a normal activity. If we lost more, we're talking 10 billion of losses in a month potentially, maybe 15 if we were on a bad week or bad event.
I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Just generally, I think you could have put a pitch through for just to fund the university itself. Sorry, I was talked over you.
No, I absolutely. I had a follow-up question on that because, like, as someone said in chat, I mean, 20 billion for a fleet is a lot in this case, and I'm questioning whether, there comes a ship size or a fleet size where it shouldn't, or it doesn't need to be up to EVE University anymore to fund it. Like the stuff that you have below there with the Thera office and what was the second thing?
The study groups.
The study groups, like I get those totally. Like I struggle a little bit with the 20 billion fleet because I don't know if I'm convinced that you need to field that. But then again, I'm probably the last person that should be talking about fleet combat and EVE Online. So just that's where my question mark is. But sorry, back to you, Croda. Did you have another question?
No, that was it for me.
Eden?
No really questions, but like their 20 billion fleet, I just wanted to iterate on that. It's I mean, if they're doing high sec, low sec PvP, it's very hard to whelp a whole fleet because I mean you're not in null sec with bubbles, so it's like you wouldn't see that needing to reinvest that 20 billion as much. It would be like maybe 25% of it.
Yes, totally. And it's really when we take it in NPC null where we're taking the ISK in our hands, and risking it, because this is where we could get dropped on by 2 or 3 groups. I won't name them, but they're out there, and you can look at the kill board. They will come and put that fleet at risk, right? And the way we've operated so far is we've had this fleet, this 20 billion ISK fleet, for a long time, and we've used it many times, but we only reserve it for when it's absolutely necessary. And what I'm asking for today is to help us with the buffer of being able to be a little bit more adventurous with it, so we can put it in the hands of people with a little bit less experience a bit more often, and perhaps be able to replace it better than we can at the moment. I mean, at the moment we've got enough stores and things for our strategic reasons. We just don't have the ability to give that learning opportunity to newer people.
Before I pass it on to Eden, Bonsai has a question in chat. So is Eve Uni giving out all ships in the fleet by default, no investment from the players?
At the moment, yes. And that's something that longer term we're going to try to look at to make these things more affordable. It's just, that is how we do it at the moment because of historical reasons, practical reasons, but it's something that we would like to be able to move away from. And again, an investment in this for us would allow us perhaps some wiggle room to try out some other approaches that might sort of absorb some of the cost and allow us to be more sustainable. I'm just not, to be honest with you, completely honest with you. In theory, I understand how that might work with, SRP being slightly lower than the price that you sell your ships for example, if you had that buffer. But I'm not an industrialist. I'm not a production person. I've done trade, and that's how I make my ISK for PvP. But I don't do industry and production to the extent that I know the ins and outs of that, of how those things would be potentially somewhat profitable or, cover some of their own costs.
And you might be producing it within Corp as well, right?
We certainly would. So this, if you gave us ISK for this, we that's where the ships would come from, the modules would come from. They would come from our internal production department.
Okay, Eden, any more questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right. So Zero, the chat said 85% yes. So that's a very strong vote in your favor. And so for me, absolutely, I'll go first on this one since I went last on the last one. I'm in, absolutely. The only question I have is how high, because I like the study groups, I like the Thera office. I would fund all of that in a heartbeat. I think you guys obviously run a very well organized corp that is helping out a lot of newbies. So there's very few things that are more rewarding in Eve in terms of investing. So I'd say I'm in for 10 billion to start. I would give you everything at once. And then if there's a continuing charge, so I understood you as saying, well, you can't say I need X billion every month, but every sort of investment helps, right? So I think the easiest would be if I would say I give you 10 billion and you run with it.
Great, thank you.
Crota.
I'm in for 10 with you.
Eden? We might have lost Eden. Or he's muted. Okay. I can't answer for Eden here, but something tells me that.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there he is. He's back. All right, Eden. Yes.
Yeah.
Your investment decision on Eve University. Nope, can't hear him. Crota, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
If you can hear me, I'll do the study group, the 6.8 billion. I'll fund that part.
Okay. So perfect. So I think Zero, you have something like 26.8 billion. I think that should cover your entire thing that you were asking for at least once. So congratulations, and feel free to come back in the future if you need more money and want to pitch again. Then you can always come back. But this should keep you above water for a while, right?
Excellent. Thank you very much, Eve Billionaires. Trillionaires,
Per-
sorry. Trillionaires.
Perfect.
I'm downplaying you.
Soon we won't be anymore if it goes on like
Sorry,
this.
perhaps.
All right. Perfect. So thank you, Zerok, again, and we'll be waiting for your update.
Thank you.
And obviously, any things that can be named after us, any content you can create to tag the OzTank, that will be repayment enough for us.
Oh,
right.
if only
I'm
I could
back.
call them the Fair Ozes instead of the Fair Oxes.
Did you
Nice.
get my message? Oz?
Yes, Eden. We
Okay.
you're funding the study groups, we heard. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, then bye, Zerok, and we'll be moving to the next candidate.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So the next candidate is Melician Tetro. Let me see here. Melician, am I saying that right? You're live.
How am I? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but you're very quiet. I can raise your volume or you can speak louder.
Sorry, I'm playing with my sensitivity. How am I now?
That's better, but I'm still going to boost you a little bit to see if people can hear you. So chat, speak up if you still can't hear Melician well, and we'll raise his volume. Okay, so let me see. Do you have a presentation, or are you just going to be speaking like that?
I have a piece of paper in front of me, and that's how I'm doing this today. I feel really underdressed after seeing these other great presentations. So
No problem.
sorry
No
about that.
problem at all. No problem at all. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to change the scene here to make it a little bit bigger, and then you can take us away with your idea that you're calling Como Proving Grounds. Tell us what that is all about. We're back to Pochven, aren't we?
Yeah, back to Pochven. Thanks. I forgot who that was for giving the intro to Pochven, so I don't have to explain that to everyone. Let's see. If you look around anywhere where people are pitching ideas for things, for content they want in EVE Online, one of the recurring themes is we want the old proving ground, we want the older proving ground, we want proving grounds. People want proving grounds. There were a lot of problems with the formats. People had problems with the instanced type of gameplay. People had problems with the matchmaking. There are a lot of problems with proving. But obviously, as Triglavians, we feel really strongly about it, right? So I brought it up to the Shadow Council of Triglavian locals, right? And we love to fight. We love to do that, but their immediate concern was security. And so for this concept, the only outside help we need for this concept is security, mercenaries. There are some improvements that I think it would bring to the proving format in general. You get visibility. Like before old matchmaking, the fights took place in a relative void, right? Like even if you were the top streamer doing proving streams at the time, you would still have very minimal viewership, right? So hosting in a public space solves that problem. Another big problem was matchmaking. People complained about, like, hey, I'm up against Cable Uda and I'm a new player, right? So running our own tournament brackets allows us to set up informed matchmaking. Let's see, crowd participation, I think, is a really cool concept in arena formats. And I think that this idea would bring that to proving. The plan is to run it as a not purple shooted event, but yeah, not purple shooted event, probably try to run it on like Funning's calendar or something. something that's really open format. Anybody can get in on, maybe the crowd could whore on kills even, with the target painter vigil that is pretty much standard issue. The arena is located in Como, in Peyrun, Cry Peyrun. It's one of the 3 landmarks that were brought into Pochven at the anniversary of Totality. The 2 other landmarks are, they're kind of like in construction still. There's they don't matter. But the proving ground is there. It's just there. It sits there. Yeah, the shadow council. Hello, Evonian News. But yeah, so one of the primary concerns was security. Let's see, I'm going to move on to ROI because I think that's important, right? Let's see. If we're running round robin tournament brackets, we have opportunities to sell winning ships for charity and running the event itself. For example, we have a celebrity Kikamura pilot, Isaac, right? And let's say hypothetically, at the end of a very small round robin tournament, Isaac has a Kikamura with 3 kill marks on it. The locals would absolutely love to buy that. Let's see. I don't know how the back end of the mercenary contracts could possibly be profitable, but I know that there are a lot of locals that want to get involved in mercenary work. And then, obviously there's a real need to showcase functional mercenary groups in the field, right? Because one problem right now for me, like let's say I'm considering hiring mercenaries, I don't know if any of them are actually effective or whether they're like just good to bash a station in high sec or something. So this would give an opportunity for proving for mercenary mercenary groups that are trying to showcase their services. This might be a first for you. Am I allowed to say if the idea has a real world ROI?
Well, I mean, it doesn't, as I always say, it doesn't need to have an ROI in game either. If it's good entertainment or if it's a good, if it has a payback to the community. But I have a basic question that maybe you can address. And so
Yeah, absolutely.
For some reason, and you have to, you have to dumb this down for the station trader, right? I was envisioning these proving grounds as some sort of arena where you stage fights, you have a tournament, and somehow you ensure that there's security around it and nobody crashes the party. Am I right up to that point?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
So when you're talking about mercenaries, what are you talking about?
I'm talking genuine mercenaries, like the concept of the mercenary niche in the game EVE Online, right? Like we hear about them in existence, but I don't really see them anywhere. Like it's a romantic idea, right? Like it's a really romantic idea. But it ends up, the application ends up being like, I paid these guys to do a wormhole eviction or some shit like that, or I paid these guys to like bash a high sec station. So
but what do they have to do with the arena? That's my question.
We have to hire security. That's the only problem.
They are the security. That's the missing point. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I got you. Okay, I got you. So you want to pay somebody to protect the arena, and those would be the mercenary groups who you would hire.
Correct. Yes, I have a couple of private security contracts in real life. So interfacing with that side is extremely interesting to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that totally makes sense. So that would have been my biggest question: is how do you ensure security? But you just answered that. You're going to hire people. Do you have any experience in the past with running tournaments in EVE Online?
No, I do not. But I'm just speaking for all of the people who would participate. There are a ton of other people that I could outsource that portion to. They would probably love it. There are the real hardcore PvPers out there. I'm just a Care Bear RP leader.
Okay. And what would you need the money for?
The money is only going to security. I can be really transparent in that capacity because everything's going to be handled as contracts. Any like prizes, ship handouts, anything like that, we'll gladly handle. Like there's a lot of money coming in and out, right? But it's the security portion itself causes like kind of a sort of dilemma, and I'd rather just like bypass that and Field of Dreams, build it and see if they come.
Okay. And how are we going to broadcast it, the tournament?
That is a thought, right? Perhaps a dedicated Twitch channel for it.
Yeah.
A collectively ran dedicated Twitch channel. And then if it makes any kind of input, any kind of a crowd input, any kind of stream donations, put those back towards the security costs. Yeah. Any other questions for me? Sorry, it's clear in my head, and I realize I really need a PowerPoint.
Yes, that's why most others bring one, but don't be discouraged. I think I've understood it. Crota, Eden, do you have questions before I take questions from chat?
Just a quick one for me. I mean, just how much money do you think you'll need?
That's a good question. It's right now I was quoted at about 100 million an hour per person. So based on security needs, it would scale. I would probably want to start at about 15 people. So assume like 1.5 to 3 bill per hour of runtime. Start monthly to begin with. So maybe I don't know, like a 10 billion would probably get an operation to run to completion and then observe the results.
Okay, thanks.
And what about prize money?
Prize money. I feel like we can handle that as well. But if you're interested in that as an investment opportunity, that's obviously a thing.
Right. Eden, questions?
No questions.
No questions from Eden. That's a first. Chat is asking the arena is it in Pochven, and somebody already answered yes. It's a physical location in Pochven. I'm. So what Balio of New Eden is saying here in chat, I kind of agree. Is so I don't work with mercenary corps. It sounds like you have before, but I would feel like, you know, you're also setting you're setting yourself up for being ripped off as well. How do we guard against that?
I would actually I would say that this event in itself would be part of the function, would be providing a showcase and venue to prevent mercenary scamming, right? Like if we pay for somebody and they show up and they do their thing, then you know that as a mercenary group that is not going to scam you and is going to stand up and do the thing. Preferably we'd go through I don't know if MERCnet is current, right? But go through whatever the current broker is for mercenary contracts. Again, my landlord is very successful with the mercenary interaction, so I would be deferring to them in that case.
Okay, chat, any more questions? Make sure you vote in the poll. Right now, the poll is at 48% yes, so not in your favor, Milician, yet. Has he got mercs in mind? Spot, how are you doing, my man? Spot is asking, do you have mercs in mind? I think you said you do, Milician, is that right?
I've looked at MERCnet. I don't have any specific units in mind, like any specific groups. I'm more looking at like more macro brokers than I am specific groups.
And
I
have you
have
hired
not,
mercs?
but
No.
my landlord has.
Your landlord has. And your landlord, is that a landlord in Pochven?
Yeah, the Raravos station owner.
Okay. And for Beerman asking where the poll is, it's just in Twitch. If you go into Twitch, you can vote up top. Okay. Eden, Crota, are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
Yep.
Since I think Eden, you're the only one that hasn't gone first. So Eden, why don't you go first?
I gotta say no for a few reasons. It's one, I mean, if you're paying for protection, but like with any sort of PvP event, if it's known, everybody's gonna come there anyways because you're gonna have mercs standing by, and because they want to fight, so they're just gonna come for the fight, and they're always gonna try to show up to just get some PvP fights.
Yeah, I
That's
consider
the
that a
biggest thing.
feature.
And then the other reason is just like any merc that I've ever dealt with in Eve has always overpriced for what you're getting. It's just, I mean, 20 billion to protect your Asbel and high sec that's cost 5 billion if it gets destroyed. Their prices make no sense to me, and I will never deal with mercs in Eve.
All right, so it's a new from Eden. I like protect your ass bell. It sounds like a good T-shirt. I'll go next. Millicent, it's a no from me as well. And you know, the reason for that is I just feel like I'm missing too many details in between, and I haven't heard from you the kind of like the, oh, I've done this a million times. You know, I know this. Like I understand the idea, and I think that's why we picked it for the show. I think the idea has a lot of promise, but you haven't given me the feeling that, oh yes, I'm going to invest in this, and this is going to be happening next week, and it's great. And that in combination with the risk of the mercs, even though I love that you say you consider that a feature. I think it's a great feature. It would be a great feature. How awesome would that be? But I'm going to have to say no as well. I'm sorry. Crota.
Well, all the reasons Eden and you said, this is closer to concept than anything else. So obviously, I'm in for 10.
Thank you.
Crota is always in for 10. It seems. Crota, you just want to see this happen. You just want to see it crash and burn.
10. Let's get one off the ground or something and see it happen, and then that, if it works, that'll be the proof in itself, and come back for more. If it doesn't work, then that's 10 gone. But that's what we're trying to do here, isn't it?
Hell yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Milician, you do understand that we are here we're not going to do any of the work, right? You have to do all the work yourself. And what I would suggest is, since this was an idea, and I haven't seen a more detailed concept. I think what would be great is if you could detail this out a little bit more, so that Crota knows what he's getting into a little bit better, and post that into the update channel before we then move on to the next phase. Is that all right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. And I don't know if direct communication with Crota is an option in that phase.
Always, of course. But to find us, you can always look us all up on the Discord. And the update channel on the Discord is there to update the community on the projects that we're running here.
Absolutely.
All right, Melician, thanks for stopping by, and we're going to move to the next candidate.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Crota, that was surprising, man. I did not see that coming.
Well, let's see. If it works, it works. It'll be great. It's only 10 billion. Let's see it work.
Let's create some chaos. I'm at the very worst. This is going to make a mercenary corp somewhere very rich. Also, I mean, of course, we need to. If it happens, we need to stream it on this channel, right? I mean, I thought that was I thought that was obvious, but we'll see. All right. The next person that we have is someone called Death Cameron. So let me pull Death Cameron in here. Death Cameron, can you hear us? And can we hear you?
I can hear you guys pretty well. Can you guys hear me pretty good?
Yes, absolutely. Perfect. Um,
The
so, is there a presentation that you sent to me?
Unfortunately, not. My IRL has kind of been a little bit busy. You know, I had to buy 10,000 exotic dancers from Jita lately, so I've kind of been busy with them and everything. So, unfortunately, I haven't had much time to set up a presentation. So, I am just gonna go ahead and wing this shit like a
Let's
shuttle
do it.
going through a Macarial camp in Amazon. Are you guys ready?
We are ready. Tell us what the name of your idea is.
All right, so let's get this shit on the roll. So, the idea here is brick or brag. So, what the hell is brick or brag? Well, you see, when you get a mutaplasmid, you put it on a module, and when you see all red, it basically, as what it happens and whatever, it turns into a brick, or it'll go all green and everything. You're like, woohoo! I got a module that's worth say 600 mil compared to the 120 mil investment that I put in for the original module. But here's the issue: nobody gives a shit. Literally nobody gives a shit because you're just rolling it on your own, and you're just a sad little bitch with your module that's worth like, I don't know, it's worth a lot of money, okay? But I mean, like, who are you gonna tell to? Like your corp of like 20, 30 people? I'm sorry, I live in J space, so I'm kind of like a little hermit
Mm-hmm.
and everything compared to like the rest of nullsec and whatever. So, but the point of this show is, well, you now have an audience. People can now watch you either win real big with those sexy green bars or basically go all red. And I believe that a live audience watching you get into this thing and seeing either their modules or somebody else's modules getting rolled live will definitely up the adrenaline, I think, because, well, let's just take for example all these like the states, you have all these American game shows where it's like, oh my god, you just won $500 million for what the hell is that game show with like the four different I believe it's called it's like a quiz show. I forget the name of it, but anyways, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But the point
The
is
Price
that
is Right or something like that.
something like that, yeah. Or
Jeopardy.
yeah,
I
oh,
don't
Who Wants
know.
to Be a Millionaire?
Who Wants to Be
Who
a
Wants
Millionaire?
to Be a
That's the one.
Millionaire?
Yeah.
That's it. That's the one. That's the one. All right. So, because it's all based on risk and chance, and I think that having those factors into a game, I mean, it's literally a part of the game mechanic, with mutas and whatever. Like, you don't know how good or bad you're gonna get it. So that's why I want to get this thing set up, because it gets the blood pumping. Like, let me tell you, I remember one guy who bought 14 Republic Fleet gyro stabs and 14 unstable mutaplasmids for him. He wanted to get him for his nag, and the guy put in 600 mil for it. Motherfucker came back with 1.7 bill in profit. He got 1.1 bill markup for what he put in for all those gyro stabs and those mutaplasmids. And here's the thing, he was live streaming it, but only to like 10 people or so. So what I'm asking for is, I am asking for the opportunity to have, say, a separate channel on the voice channels where I can host this event live, just with the I believe there is a share your screen option in Discord where I can access that, and then I'll be able to live stream through Eve me rolling the abyssal modules for other people, and they will definitely be given back to them on stream and everything, because I know that some people in EVE Online are shady as fuck. I know there was that whole situation way back that actually made gaming news where that one guy stole some other person's AT ship for like 2 3 trill or something that was valued at, or like a lot of IRL money. But No, I don't want to break that respect because I know that a lot of people in Eve Online are a bunch of backstabbing scumbags and everything. So, you know, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do this live in front of everyone just so that they can like, you know, I just want to run this thing and just see how it goes, you know?
Yes. So I think I understand. I mean, this is like watching slot machines on Twitch, right? I mean, that's essentially it.
Yep, that's essentially it.
It's watching gambling and participating in somebody's success or not. And do you want to roll your own modules or do you want to roll other people's modules?
Well, that all depends on how the investors see. I mean, if they do want to give me some modules and stuff to roll for myself, I mean, that would be very generous of you guys. But I mean, the great thing about this is that for the investors, and that goes for both for you and the your two fellow investors
Mhm.
gathered here today, and for all the other streamers coming in, is they can basically put in what they want to put in to whoever. So, like the way I see this is that they would set up a contract with one of my characters, and they will say within that contract whether they want it rolled for themselves, for the audience, or for me. And then that's how it will roll on stream, day of,
All right.
if that makes sense.
And so just just as as a disclaimer here, if you were going to you would have to clean up your language a little bit if you stream on on either our channel or in our Discord, but I think I think that's a hurdle we can take.
Okay.
So do you like what I mean, what would be I think if you just did that for an hour, right? You just sit there and you roll your modules, and sometimes they break, sometimes you brag. That doesn't it get super boring after like 10 minutes?
If it's all red, then yes. But if it does get green, then I mean there is some excitement in that,
If it's
and
mine, but
especially
if
if
it's
it's a
yours, I
small
don't
game.
care, right?
Well, if that's true, I guess. I mean, it all depends on like on how many people actually want to go in there and like see their friends have their modules rolled and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm. All right. Eden, questions?
I mean, I can kind of see this kind of being like a show, like if it's Friday, Saturday night, you're drinking, but you got to give away like some stuff for people watching it. Like, hey, this roll, like we're gonna give away whatever is next on this, and like somebody might have a chance to get like one of those billionisc modules or something to keep people entertained. Because I wouldn't watch it if I wasn't gonna get like a prize out of it or something. So that'd be
yeah,
something to like look into as well.
yeah, that's a good point actually. I think maybe one of those considerations I can take is perhaps maybe having a few modules of like say my own rolled on stream, where maybe one of you guys can help invest in some funding for one of those, and then maybe you guys can like take a cut of the commission for it.
And then I think you'd probably need like it's kind of what they do on the other Eve streams, like not like brisk level entertainment, but like having another person or like two other people with you when you're doing it, kind of make a show of it to be, I guess, entertaining while talking about Eve things. I mean, I would say you would have to do something like that.
Oh yeah. I think I've when you're on JSpace, you have a pretty tight community, so I can trust myself that I have some good people who would probably be able to come online and just, we'd be able to talk stuff and whatever back and forth to each other and all that. I know one a good friend of mine used to roam around in Nullsec. He's got a few good things to say about that whole Tirade that's going on. So I know.
Or it could be like Lincoln in stream or just chat. Because like people could bid on it before you roll it. They'd be like, okay, I'm gonna bid. Well, I don't know if that's against EUL, but if it isn't, they could, have a chance to buy it from you. Say they bid 200 million and it rolls 500 million.
I like
Yeah.
that. That's a good idea, Eden.
Like, oh, a live bid.
But as long as it's CCP won't ban you for it, so you got to look into that first, because that could be gambling.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh,
Actually, sorry,
Um,
Lincoln had that idea. Sorry, I didn't want to steal your idea, Lincoln. Sorry, go ahead, Deathcan.
no. I was just gonna say that perhaps that is like a good approach that I can take. I mean, I can just like roll modules for other people, but then also I can roll modules live and then have people bid on it and see how far it goes. I mean, that is also one big possibility that could happen through it.
Some people in chat are having questions around the EULA. I think is this gambling against the terms of service? But it is, this is in game, so this is stuff that's in game. As long as you don't bid outside game with real money or something, should be fine.
Oh God, no. I'm not asking for IRL dollars for this stuff. I'm simply asking for ISK.
Yeah.
Or like, that's pretty much the only thing that will ever be traded throughout the stream or whatever. No Plex or like other items. It's just straight ISK.
Yeah. Crota, questions?
One guy.
Always the same question from me, I guess. I mean, how much do you think you'll need, and what will you spend it on?
That's a good question. I guess initial investment would be I think around like say 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 3 bill, and that money will go towards I believe it will go towards like faction level modules and their associated unstable versions of mutaplasmids. I'm not planning to spend any of that ISK on like say one of those drone damage amp mutaplasmids that cost like what 600 mil in the Gina market. I'm not doing that just yet. I'm not at that level. I don't think I will be in a long time until we get more episodes in and whatnot.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Chat, any more questions? I see the poll is 74% with no Deathcam, and that's not in your favor. You didn't convince chat.
What it is.
Okay. While we have 30 seconds left on the poll, but I don't anticipate that changing a lot. Chat, has he considered running Abyssal Updogs? Oh God, Spot and chat. Just ignore the doctor. Just ignore the doctor. Crota, Eden, are we ready to vote then?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I'll go first. For me, it's a no, for a very simple reason, and that is, I have a big issue with some of the gambling elements in EVE Online, and because you guys all know the hypernet is like my fierce enemy in the EVE Online world, because I think it triggers the wrong things in people. I think people with gambling addictions should be able to enjoy a game like EVE in peace, and should be able to turn stuff like this off. So I'm not saying this is against the EULA. I'm not saying I don't, I want to forbid this in EVE Online. All I'm saying is, for something like this, knowing that gambling is an issue for a lot of people, I would say no. Crota.
Yeah, this could give Udema Scout a real run for its money. So I'm in for 5, which I think if you need 1 to 3, that should cover it.
All right, thank you.
Eden.
I'm going to try to salvage this a little bit with you, but I think it is a concept for a good Twitch stream show on Eve, and for people to actually like, if he gives away like an item to chat, or he's like a raffle or giveaways, you're giving stuff away. I don't see it as much as gambling. If people come on and like, here's my stuff, roll it. I think you can work work a few things in there, like, okay, we roll it, but we'll give you 100 million back out of the 200 million that you gave us if it doesn't, hit a certain roll or whatever with the item. I don't think it's too much gambling, but I think if all three of us go in and he comes up with a really good show script and he flushes out all the details, then we could all do like 1.5 billion for the first show and to get it started.
All
So
right. So say if I were to like maybe put out a little bit better of like a blueprint for this thing, then maybe we can talk about investment.
I
Yes.
think for sure, and I think one of your as has been mentioned in chat a few times, one of your biggest hurdles is going to be getting an audience. And so I understand, you were asking whether you could, stream it live on our Discord, which we can talk about, or do it on Twitch. I think you need to somehow drum up interest for this, and for me to get behind something like that. I would have to see a concept, a little bit more details, because just based on the discussion that we had today, I think there are a ton of unanswered questions here. So if you're getting that investment from Crota and Eden, then I think we can we can look at some marketing, but we'll need some more details. So but congratulations, you at least convinced some of us. Chat wasn't on your side, and I wasn't, but Crota and Eden seem to be. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you around.
Thank you very much for having me. Take care.
Take care. All right, quite a few F-bombs there. I'm gonna have to edit those out somehow. For I think my YouTube rating. I think that's going to bomb my YouTube rating. Thanks for being the reason that I need to edit the stream now. Otherwise, I just pull it and put it out there. All right. Oh yeah, General Hellbound says you can do YouTube shorts for that idea. Yeah, you could. That could actually work. The last idea that we have today is similar to last week, in that last week we had Golden CEO, one of our investors, put forth an idea that was insane and that took about 100 billion a month. If you want to know what that is, go check out episode 1. Today again, Eden Trade put forth an idea, and still I needed him on the investor panel because Golden CEO couldn't be here today. But so today, Eden Trade, it's not that we only had 5 ideas. We had a lot more ideas, but his idea that he put forth in the Discord actually got a whole lot of upvotes and a whole lot of good positive feedback. And I think it's an interesting idea. So Eden, you are our 5th and last candidate for today, and I believe you also send me a link with a presentation, right?
Yes, a 30-minute put together presentation.
All right. While I pull that up, maybe you can already start taking us through your idea, and then I will have it up in 30 seconds.
Right. So like what I like to do is kind of, I guess, sit at the top and watch my ISK influence thing. So like I've been for a little bit playing around with investing in some like faction warfare stuff, like giving assets like ships and ISK, or SRPing a couple like faction warfare fights and fleets to just to see how it goes, and then watching all those assets that I give go down there to like the people, the fleet, they get blown up or they blow up other ships with it. And to me, that's just a good feeling. I can sit here, do nothing, and then watch as other people get blown up in their ships, and just say, "Hey, I did that." But really, just investing in faction warfare. I like the Mimitar Galente side, so I'm only investing in that side, and supply both sides with ships. And also doing like ISK payouts. So say if I want to Netamala, if I want to see if we can flip that system, I could put in like 5 billion, whichever FC or a group actually comes in, says, "Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to flip the system." If they do it, they get the 5 billion, and then they can use that however they want, or they could be like, we need this fleet of ships, or we need you to SRP all these fights we're going to have to try to take this system. So it can kind of patch in either way on how the ISK is used. It just helps make more fights in Eve, and then you can engage without the fear of loss. So like, hey, we got these 50 ships donated. We're just gonna go in there and just fight no matter what. So it's just a content creator. The next slide here. So like general info, fleet commanders are the primary contact. So you have to be a fleet commander. You essentially have to come in like one guy did and hey, this is what I need, or I'm going to take on the task of doing whatever goal that's been set, like flip this system. Uh, Fleet fights, they got to be recorded. Like you got to have video of it when using any assets or doing any sort of objective. Because I want to see that. I'm sure other people would want to see that, and then that adds more videos and stuff for people to view that might not play Eve online. And then Twitch streaming it, maybe either videos or streaming, so people can watch the live action unfold. Um, it'll just help showcase more faction warfare content or just content in general. And then I kind of want to have a hands-off approach, so I set an objective, people can do it or not, or if they say they need this ship or this fight SRP'd, it's just, yeah, we'll go and do it. I don't want to be the one going in there and dictating and being like, you got to do this or you got to do it this way or that way. It's just like, here's your assets or here's whatever you need. Just go and do it, record it, and then tell me how it went. And then possible for the future, like directly SRPing pilots, not linked to fleets. Like you might have a solo pilot that goes out there and just wants to run PvP and faction warfare, but doesn't want to have to deal with, oh, I lost a ship and now I can't go back out. And then having like an opposing person on the Caldari or a Mar side to where they have a pool of ISK and then they can set objectives and then we can kind of fight back and forth over things like that. And then there's just some things here that where my ISK went. In what it was used for and kind of like some battle reports kills. So, I mean, I supplied the right hand side here. We lost 300 million, but we killed 888 million. And then here's another one. I supplied all the Merlins. They went out on a roam and then they found snuffed out and killed 4.1 billion of their stuff, lost 100 million in assets. So I like that is directly went to the destruction of 4 billion ISK. So that's the kind of things that I like to see as like, hey, I did this. I made that Redeemer and Arazu blow up. And then this is a sponsored SRP fight. Like they were going to be, Sedition was like, hey, we're going to go take this Astor House. They're using it kind of staging for faction warfare. I was like, all SRP up to 5 billion. They went in, they didn't lose anything. So, I mean, they didn't get any of that 5 billion, but they went in knowing like we could go in full well and lose 5 billion and still come out on top and be fine and like reship and go back out and keep fighting. And then this was another one. I supplied all these ships over here. The X were Navy issues, and they killed a golem of initiatives. So I directly helped kill 1.6 billion with that with those ships supplied. And then just ending, essentially, I'm asking 5 billion per week, 20 billion per month. Um, ability to scale in ISK if interest arise, or we can just do like a lump sum, like 100 billion. That'll cover 6 months. But I mean, if there's no interest, nobody's doing anything, all that is just gets refunded if it doesn't get used within like 3 months. So and then I'm going to be putting in 5 billion ISK per week on top of that. So that's my personal list just to keep funding the operation. So essentially 10 billion ISK per week to set objectives, SRP fleets, and to help out the FCs in faction warfare. And then the other things to get involved is, my Discord, or if you have a personal objective like Oz, if you wanted to be like, hey, I really want that system flipped, or I wanna watch the destruction of this Astor house and faction warfare, you can just go ahead and just set that objective, and we can have a payout for that. But anybody can do that. Anybody, if you just come in and tell me like, hey, I really hate this one thing Caldari's doing. Let's go out and like blow up all their ships over in this system. And then just you must be an FC in faction warfare, leading fleets, and then you just come to me with what you want to do or what you need, and essentially it'll probably just be funded if the ISK is there, and then that's about it.
All right. So fairly straightforward. Let me sum up to make sure I understood everything correctly, Eden. You are, in this case, what you showed us, you're supporting just one side of faction warfare, right?
Yes.
You're in this in this case, it's really just Galmill, but you're not opposed to doing it for other sides as well.
No, but somebody else would have to take that on because I don't support slavers. So if you're a slaver Oz,
Oh, is that the RP coming out in you? That's
yes.
nice. Yes, love it. I mean the obvious discussion that I think we would have to have. To me, it's if you're just supporting one side, then you probably have a personal connection to that side and you like to see that side win, and so for you, you're kind of acting like a warlord, right? You're funding the battles in the background because not only do you like destruction, but you like this specific kind of destruction, which some people out there are going to disagree with, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And so is there, I'm just trying to think, is that fight close enough? Because like it doesn't, if I remember correctly, most of the time Caldari has the upper hand in that zone, right? Caldari versus Galente.
Yeah, so it's a lot of what I'm hearing. Caldari actually has a really good like battleship fleet. They're well funded. They have all these assets. That fight over the Astor House, they just happened to bring a better doctrine of the Navy prophecies, and were able to like hit long range anything on grid and kind of just blew them all apart.
So what you're saying is you're also supporting Galmill to kind of make the fight easier, or more at eye level.
That too, yes. So I think Galente is a little underfunded. Caldari and Mar have kind of the upper hand with their ISK. That's just from what I hear, so it's or been told.
Yeah. Okay. And do you feel like you're making a dent with your? Because I mean, this is a lot of money that you're asking for in this idea. For someone who maybe doesn't have a big stake in faction warfare on one side or the other, the question I think is much bigger on whether to support something like this that is one sided.
Yeah. Well, what I've been told is, the ships that I've provided so far and the stuff that I've given is actually been very beneficial to their side. They're able to do more fleets. They're able to go out there, not worry too much about losing stuff, and it helps knowing that they go into a fight without being, crap, we lose our fleet. It's going to take a while to recover because I'm directly buying the ships and the fittings and shipping them down. I'm not just giving straight ISK if I'm either supplying a fleet or funding a fleet. It's like I move the whole assets and then they're down in faction warfare space. So I'm not just giving ISK and then they go off and spend 3 billion of it, but I gave 4 billion.
Right. And the obligatory question that I asked Golden CEO last week as well, you are rich, arguably richer than I am. Why do you need help, or what do you want help with this? Or what is this about for you?
Because I'm spending all my money on Oz Tank. So, no, but it would be a good thing to, one, get you guys to help out, and then maybe more people, get the advertising out there, get people more involved in this, and then we could grow that, to like maybe you run the Caldari or Amar side, Oz or Crota, or somebody else does something like that, or we pick somebody to do that, and then it's kind of the people with DSC at the top kind of influencing a few things. I don't want to do it, to where it's completely influencing everything. It's just like the FCs, the people that are fighting in faction warfare, they're doing all of that. We're just helping push things in the direction that they want to go.
Yeah. I mean, I could totally see this if, I think this would be an awesome concept if it was indeed that, let's say you are on the Galente side and I or Crota, we're on the Caldari side, and we just fund both sides in the background and have battles. The only thing that I don't know enough about faction warfare to feel and the structure of the corps in there to understand what the impact is going to be and whether we can actually make a dent by funding 5-10 billion here and there on one side or the other.
Yeah, that's why it's just I've been kind of for the past month and a half playing around with it, seeing how it goes. I mean, it seems doable and easy. I only advertise it on my Discord. Actually really nowhere else. And just getting the people that are actually actively in faction warfare, like those FCs and people running the fleets, or the corporations or alliances that are mainly involved, helping them create the content in those areas and supply what they need.
Crota, do you have questions? Or
Well,
do you just pledge 10 billion and go home?
I think it's a fairly straightforward idea, isn't it? It's pure content generation. You know what you're trying to do. You know what side you're trying to on. I'm on the Galente side as well, for that matter. So I actually genuinely can't think of any question to ask that's insightful other than keep on talking.
I mean, it's funny because I only have one character in faction warfare, and that's also Galente. I wonder why all the traders end up on the Galente side. But I guess RP wise, it's the closest to the free market. Although you could be corporation heavy, Caldari, and also Jita is in Caldari territory. That's why I was entertaining that idea of maybe having two sides and battling it out. I think that's actually where my head would be. But I understand you, Eden, that a big part you do in here is you actually do much more than just fund their battles. You actually do some logistics and you create objectives and that sort of stuff, right? It's much more than just giving the ISK.
Yes, yeah.
And so if we were on both sides, then we would have to actually do a mirror corporation Discord, structure something on the Caldari side, and then basically have battle it out.
Yeah, pretty much. That would be if we got to that point, then yes.
But that would be, that's not what you're asking for today, right? You actually don't want me to support the Caldari side.
Well, I mean, you can if you want. That's completely up to you. So, my side is just this is what I'm doing. So it's if you want to come in and do the other side, that's fine with that if that's what you're asking.
I would have to find someone to do what you do already. Okay, I mean, Crota says it's straightforward because Crota says it's just a content generator, and I can see why you would say that, but I do struggle with the idea of really messing with the politics here, and for me, for what I kind of like do in game, I would really have to get behind the Galente idea and be like, yes, I'm doing this because I'm actually doing a good job. And the reason I that I could see that work is because anytime you support the underdog, it kind of then in the end leads to better content overall. Because the best faction warfare content that we could have is if we had two equal sides, right? But I just don't know if we make a dent.
I don't think it's about making a dent in anything we're doing. I think it's more of just because I don't care if Galente come and take all the systems, or if they don't even flip one system, I just whatever. I mean, it's to me, it's creating that content and seeing the ISK go out there and actually either get blown up or have that ISK directly blowing up other things and pushing the limit to where now they're out, there's a fight. I mean, and people are getting involved. The FCs are like, here's all of our ships. We're going to go out there and we're just, we're going to have more so of just a fun time, But if it comes down to actually pushing pushing the Caldari back and taking battle lines, that's cool to me. But like I showed in the pictures, I like seeing things to where Snuffed Out lost 4 billion to a bunch of Merlins because I invested I think 100 million to that Merlin fleet.
Right. And the sizable continued investment that you're looking for, I mean, obviously that's up for negotiation, right? Because if I did something like this, I think I would like to invest a little bit and then see what happens, and then kind of understand it better, and then we talk about it again.
Yeah, so that would work. I mean, like I said, we could just do like one thing per month, or like I could do 1 week with some good objectives, get some good videos, get some good battle reports, get some, all that stuff that you can see where like this ISK went to buying these ships, this FC used it, and they went and did this fight.
Yeah. Futility in chat is saying this is the type of finger on the scale that is bad for EVE Online. Anytime one side loses the sense of value of their ships or have infinite money, it's bad for the game. It tips the scale too much. So I think he's got a point. Probably, I mean, actually, Eden, why don't you reply to that? I have my own reply, but I don't need to defend your idea.
I think in EVE, even the richest players like me, if I go out and lose a ship, even being in Snuffed Out, say whenever I was in Snuffed Out, they have tons of money and all the players have tons of money. But when we lose like one of our dreadnoughts, or if we lose like one of our sub capitals, like it's not about the money, it's about we lost, and it's just, and that's more of like a pride hit. So even if you didn't worry about losing your ships, if you still, the FC still whelped his whole fleet, and all the people in fleet died, everybody's going to be upset about it. Like even in nullsec, whenever I was running fleets and people lose their ships or we lose a fight, like everybody is kind of upset and they're just like, well, we suck. So I mean, I don't think it's going to come to, oh, I don't care about losing a ship. It's going to be like, we don't want to lose a ship, we want to win the fight.
Right. He's got a point though. So let me ask a follow-up question. So in nullsec, you've got SRP. So if people are flying, doctrine ships, then they don't care about losing the ship either. They care, but they don't care for their own ISK, right? Is it the same in faction warfare? I mean, this is a question to you, Eden, if you can answer it, or chat. But is it the same in faction warfare? Do you have massive SRP in faction warfare, or is it more like a band of brothers? We're in the same corp, but we kind of bring our own shit deal in faction warfare?
For me, that I don't know too much about that. Like I played faction warfare back in like 2008 on Mimitar for like 2 years, but unless anybody else in chat knows. But going
So
back to the
less common
thing,
is I guess the consensus is corp dependent, less common. It's more like a band of brothers. At least with null SRP, we contribute to the wallet through taxes. This is just too freebie-ish for me. Okay.
and then with the nullsec thing, like with their SRP, like I've done nullsec FCing for like 10 years, like 2005 to 2015. It's, yeah, you got SRP, but if you constantly start losing all the time, your line members are just like, this sucks, and like they start quitting, or they'll go to the opposite side, or they start going other places. People like the feeling of winning.
Sure. Yes. All right. So let's see. We had about a 50-50, Eden, in chat. We had 53% in favor of your idea. Let me see if chat has any more questions. Crota, you, I guess, are ready to make a decision.
Yeah. I don't see this as taking sides. I see this as content generation, and if it works, you can bet your bottom dollar somebody will come in and do the Caldari side as well.
If it works and it makes enough of a difference, right?
Yeah.
Eden, how many? Like you were showing some examples of how this worked in the past. How are you are you talking to certain corps? Are you talking to FCs? Like what are you using as a network?
Just one guy, like one corp, or I think they're Alliance Edition. They're on the Galente side, so that's really the only FC out of my whole Discord that I advertise that came to me and came with an idea. They got to come to me and tell me what you need and what you need me to do or provide. Like, I'm not going to go out there and find it. But that's just the one person that I've been directly working with for right now. But I would like to see more. Like, I want to get somebody on the Mimitar side. I talked with one Mimitar person, but they didn't come to me and be like, here's what I want to do with all this, or what we need to do. But if I set more realistic goals and get more people, the word out there more, and actually go out there and advertise it, like, here's a goal of, flipping this system or doing this battlefield over in this system, then more people will get involved that way as well.
Okay, and so you would actually be open. I mean, part of this is also advertising, right? I'm hearing you say like part of this is also getting this idea out there, and so you would be open to other, in your case, Galente corporations coming to you and saying, "Hey, we want to be part of this program."
Yeah. So I mean, essentially anybody can, as long as they run a fleet. So like it could be, I'm looking for more of FCs, because FCs create the content. They know the battlefield. They know what they're doing. So one, it's talking to them to figure out what's going on, and two, it's like they're leading the charge of directly influencing everything as well.
Right. Okay. So I guess we're ready then. Crota, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I see this as trying to sort of do more in faction warfare. I'm not too concerned about the side that's been taken. So I'm in for I'll go in for 10.
I expected that for some reason, Crota. So I mean, I want to try. I want to try it, Eden. I kind of I want to be like I basically I'll say let's go with 5 billion, right? I'll fund 5 billion. Crota goes in 10, and I kind of want to see what that money goes to, and maybe you can show me around a little, and then I would like to. After, let's say, a month, by the next episode, I'd like to make up my mind whether I'm cool with just funding one side, or whether I would actually put some effort into building up another side. Is that all right?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. So that's essentially 20. So because I'm doing 5 usually, so
Cool. Yeah. Then we can make some ships blow up, I think, and then we'll see what happens. Okay. Cool. Eden, thanks for not only being an investor but also being a candidate today. And again, I want to reiterate that Eden put this idea forward, without necessarily knowing that he would also be an investor on today's panel, and the idea got upvoted on our Discord. If you guys also want to have your ideas heard, right, then all you have to do is you have to go to our Discord and there's a channel in there called the Oz Tank, or there's a category called the Oz Tank, and then there's idea submissions. We typically lock it for about a week after the show, but then it opens up again for the next episode. We're going to run the Oz Tank on a monthly basis, so you'll have plenty of time to think about your idea. You can then pitch your idea in the channel. You have to explain what you want to do. You have to say how much money you need. You have to post some details about it, and then you need to be ready to discuss it. And if you get chosen, you need to obviously be on the show here, either just by voice or on video, and preferably with a nice PowerPoint presentation like we saw 3 times today. And then if you get funded, you got to be ready to document your successes or your progress. And so, this was episode 2. Definitely some very interesting ideas. I'm seeing a lot of discussion in chat already about Eden's idea. I am on the fence with that one as well. We'll see what what happens with it. All I can say is come join our Discord. If you like what I do, throw me a follow. Go to youtube.com/OzEve if you want to see old episodes, or if you didn't catch part of this episode and want to listen to it or watch it later. This show is also on my podcast feed. So if you look for the Oz Report on any platform that has podcasts such as Spotify or Apple Podcast, you can find it there. And I also upload the entire Oz Tank episodes up to that podcast. So I think if you don't care about the presentations and you just want to listen to it on your commute, then you can definitely do that. And the format kind of works for that as well. And I realized today we were in parallel with the Alliance tournament at some point. This is my slot, right? It's always at 8 p.m. Eve time on Saturdays. So this is the time when I can run this. This time just happened to be the Alliance tournament, but feel free to visit or watch the show on any of the other channels. With the difference that you can't vote for your favorite ideas there, but hopefully next time should be less of a conflict. So if you like the content that I do, I'm also on patreon.com/OzEve. Appreciate your support there. And so let me finish the show today by saying thank you to the Tycoon level supporters that we have on there, and that is, let me just see, it's Van Wortith, it's Croda, it's Zaraki, it is Rias, Truss, it is lost my box, here we go, it is Axel, Clunky, the One Valentine, Matthew, Novacav, and Silver. Thank you guys all so much for the support. Thanks for hanging around. We're going to have an after show here on Twitch. I'm just going to take a quick break to get a beer. And otherwise, I'll see you guys next Saturday for the regular Oz show, and in a month time for the next Oz Tank episode. Thank you to Eden Trade and to Croda for being on the investor panel. And thank you to all the presenters with all the nice ideas and presentations. I'll see you guys soon. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.